always pick the guys that they want to move before also. All right, microphone's on. Katrina, is Dr. Keith in her office? Okay. So Dr. Keith will be here in a few minutes, and she's going to talk to us about something, but we'll go ahead and get started until she gets here. So, hi, did y'all have a good semester? All right, I want everybody to just think back. Last year in April, I met with you for orientation. And I can tell you from my point of view the difference in the group, because you all came in and you were like, and you wouldn't talk, and you wouldn't ask questions, and you'd sit up there and you'd say, what do we do if there's this, and what do we do if there's that, and when are we going to find out this, and when are we going to find out that? And just as I suspected, you have lived until December. And so I want everybody to give themselves a round of applause for making it through Residency. So if you're still breathing, that's how we define lived. So next semester, of course, is Residency 2. And I like for us to come together and all hear at the same time what expectations are for that. Like I say, Dr. Keith will be in, and she's going to talk to us about an opportunity for people who are student teaching in Johnson City. And so we'll talk about that when she gets here. In the meantime, your official start date is January the 14th. That is the day the ETSU starts, and that's the day when you are an ETSU enrolled student. So you can go back after Christmas before January 14th, but it doesn't count towards your time. Who's at university school? University school, you all go back as soon as university school goes back, because you've got a 3-week break coming up in February. So you all have to, I think it's February. So you all have to go back as soon as they do in order to get your time in. If you start earlier, you don't get to bank the time. Doesn't work that way. Make sure, though, that your mentor knows when to expect. And if you want to go back after Christmas and just go part-time, but that's fine, too. You don't have to even go every day. But I do think that if you can go back, it's great. I don't like to make people feel like they're pressured to go back, because I think that we have to take care of ourselves physically and emotionally when we're under a lot of stress. And I know that some of you are going to try to be working over Christmas and making some money so that you don't have to work so much during the spring. However, all that aside, if you can go, want to go, you're welcome to go. It's just that we can't count it. Are any questions about that? Yes.
Just speaking of enrollment, when do we get to register to Residency 2? Because I'm getting emails at least.
Yeah. So you have to be permitted into Residency 2, and you can't be permitted until we check your grades. We can't check your grades until after the semester. So I would expect that sometime in a couple of weeks that you will get notified that it's time to go ahead and register. But don't worry, it'll happen. It'll happen sooner than later. It's just that we can't do it until you've shown that you've passed Residency 1 classes. You have to have a C in all your Residency 1 classes, and we have to also check they also have to check to make sure you've got the correct average in your major. So all those things have to be checked off, and praxis scores, everything has to be good to go. Yes.
I've got some folks running behind. If I don't have everything I need to say you are okay and good to go, I will give you an incomplete. But that's a problem. You've got to get rid of that. Okay? So those of you who are behind, keep in touch with me. Some people had new placements or whatever, or started over.
All right. So, I always get questions about this because everybody gets all bent out of shape. 15-week full-time placement. We say 15-week full-time placement because the semester is 15 weeks. We know that there's a thing called spring break, and you subtract that. There's an exam week that you subtract. There are snow days. But what we're saying is that for the entire semester, spring semester, you are full-time in your placement from when the teachers are contracted to be there until they're supposed to leave. Now, if you've got a coach that is your mentor and they leave every day during the last period, you don't get to leave because he leaves. You do what your principal would expect anybody to do, okay? Because you don't have coaching responsibilities. You're there to be a teacher. So you need to follow the same schedule as a regular teacher. You're going to follow their academic calendar. If they're out for snow, please don't go to the school. If they're out for snow, I do not want to hear about any student teachers going to the school and trying to beat the door down to get in there to work. You promise me you won't do that? Okay, good. Snow days are a gift from God, and you're just grateful for them. You pray for them. You do snow dances. You do whatever you do because it is what keeps teachers from dying. So it's okay if you miss a lot of school. It is going to put your EdTPA a little bit behind, but it's not going to be a situation where it's going to keep you from graduating or getting licensed or anything like that. So just go when you're supposed to go. You're going to follow the same academic calendar as your school system. Now, that always, for some reason, is confusing to people, but ETSU has their spring break March 11th through the 17th. Well, that's ETSU's spring break, not yours. Your spring break is when your school system has one. If your school system has Good Friday and Monday after Easter is their spring break, then that's all you get. And I'm sorry, but that's probably because you're in Carter County and you're going to miss most of January anyway. So, boo-hoo. Yeah.
Most of April.
Yeah. So, the 3 days that you go in January and February, nobody's feeling sorry for you. So, this is not your spring break. Unless your spring break coincides with it. But even then, I highly recommend that you not plan spring break trips because a lot of things can happen. Your school system can change their mind about their spring break. They can say, oh, we need to stay here and make up snow days during the spring break. In which case, you're expected to be here, plane tickets or not, or you're missing school and unexcused. So that's not something you want to do. May is still spring. You could take your spring break in May, and that's what you're going to really have to plan for a trip. Plan your trip in May. Because I know it's a big thing when you're a senior and you want to take a trip, and I get it. But I just also think that if you're trying to juggle student teaching and writing an EdTPA and going to seminar and doing all the things and all the things and all the things, and in the meantime you take a big long vacation in it, this is not going to work well for you. It's just too much. So just wait. Any questions about that? Yes.
Are you going to tell them about boot camp?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's in there. Anything else? Yeah.
Will we have to plan for a final from the seminar at all?
We're getting there.
Okay.
So the questions I want you to, when I ask, please stick to these topics. Then we'll get to where we're going. Okay, because I don't want to repeat all the time. So you're going to be going to a second placement. That means if you're in a high school, you're going to go to the middle school. If you're going to middle school, you're going to high school. And that's going to happen March 18th. Now, if you're on spring break on March 18th, I guess you'll stay home. Of course you won't switch to another school.
You know my whole hoopla that happened. Miss Lucas was CC'd me in the email and said it was March 25th.
It is March 18th, and that is straight from the CAPE meeting today, from the Associate Dean via the Director of Teacher Education. It is March 18th. Yes.
So if we're at university, do we just go to middle school? Like if we're at high school at university, we just go
You're
to
going to
middle
do
school?
what your supervisor tells you to do, and field office. They've got it covered. They'll tell you where to go, okay? So as promised, this is Dr. Keith, and she's got something exciting to talk to you about.
Hi. If you are in Johnson City Schools, that we have a new agreement with Johnson City Schools called Candidate to Substitute. So during Residency 2, and I apologize, but this is only for Johnson City Schools.
Oh, yes.
So it's called Candidate to Substitute, and if you want to be a substitute during our Residency 2, you will have 5 days that you can miss your classes and substitute. And for that, they'll pay you $60 for that day. I will send a sign-up sheet around because there will be some paperwork that you will need to sign, and it can't be more than 5 days. You also have to get your mentor teacher's agreement as well as your supervisor's agreement, so you're going to have to communicate with them and let them know. There are implications, though, that you should think about. If something should happen while you are substituting, could it jeopardize your chances of getting a job? So those are things to think about when you do substitute. But they are desperate for you to substitute. Your first choice will be in your mentor teacher's classroom if the mentor teacher needs someone. But the next option will be at the school, and it could be anywhere in the school. Well, the next option would be the content, and the next option would be the school, and possibly even the system as a whole. So I will send this around because Johnson City will schedule a training for you, a substitution training, and I need to let them know who will attend that. And at that point, we'll get you to sign an agreement.
I'm already registered as a substitute for this school year.
Yeah,
so do I
I'm
need to
checking
sign
on that. I don't know. I'm checking on that. Any other questions? And right now, you can substitute at any time, as long as it doesn't interfere with your courses and so forth.
She means over Christmas.
Yeah, and they really, really need, they, especially at the high school and middle school, they are desperate. They need you, but you can do that on your own right now. And at Christmas time is really when they need you, because this is when teachers take off to go shopping.
But don't they have to do a training first?
Yes, you have to do a training first. And there's an online application. So you can go on now to the Johnson City School System's online application and fill that out. Other questions? I am finding that out, though, Katrina, because there are some that have others that have that question. Okay, I'll send this around and you can let me know if you're interested.
What do they need to put down, their name?
Just their name, your name and your email. Right now it's just your name. I can get your email address. Okay. And we will be in touch. Thank you. You all got the email about the scholarships, right? And responded. We could just do a show of hands, or maybe that's no. I have to report how many of our students have scholarships or grants. So if you've not sent me an email today saying I have a scholarship or a grant, then please do that right now. Use your phone, whatever. Send me an email, Keith KJ, and let me know if you have a scholarship or a grant. It's for a U.S. News and World Report. U.S. News and World Report. That we have to send in, and
do they just need to tell you that they've got one?
Yes.
Scholarship
You don't
or
even have to tell me what. Just say I got one.
There's your email right there. I'm sorry. I don't remember this. This is something that has gone.
Yeah, I sent it today. It
Oh,
said
okay.
urgent.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, so there's a form going around. Just give me your name and your name if you're interested, and you're in Johnson City. We would like to extend this to other districts. We just haven't talked to other districts about getting this in place, but I know other districts are interested.
Okay. Thank you. Now, even though you're on spring break with Johnson City or Kingsport or Carter County or whatever, if we're having seminar, because your spring break doesn't match ours, you're still expected to come to seminar. You understand? So let's say that your spring break is the first week in April, and we're not on spring break, so you're going to still have seminar. Okay. Okay, let's go on. Second placements, we did get to this a little bit. The field office finds your second placement, and they will notify you, if they have not already, about when that is. Some people are getting notifications even this month about what their second placement is. But it's not a thing that you really need to be worrying about right now. If I had a worry list, this would be at the bottom, because you don't move until March. So just kind of keep your eye on it. If you don't know where you're going in March, then you talk to your supervisor, you contact the field office, and you find out then. But you will make your move. Make sure that your mentor knows you'll be moving March the 18th. March the 18th means that you're going to leave your placement and go to another placement. For most of you, that's going to mean a different school. So at that point, you have to have all of your EdTPA artifacts collected. Student work samples, your videotaping, of course, should have been long done by then, but assessments that you're doing on the students, all of those things need to be collected because you're leaving and not coming back. Now the EdTPA upload is the following week, but you should have all your artifacts, of course, done before you leave. Okay. Your second placement, sorry, lost my balance. Your second placement is part of that 15 weeks, not in addition. Your attendance. Attendance is very important, and you need to keep your attendance log like you did this semester and you have been doing, but you also need to make certain that this semester, if you have to miss, that means that you're dying or you're in the emergency room, not that you have a headache, but if you're going to miss, that you call, you make 3 phone calls. The first person who needs to know is your mentor. You need to call your mentor first because that's the person who's the most affected by your absence. As soon as you hang up with your mentor, you contact your supervisor in the way that they've asked you to do. Phone call, text message, or email. But you don't email your supervisor at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and say, oh, by the way, I didn't go to school today. That's not what you do. You do it immediately because they need to know whether or not you've made it to your placement. You also need to call your school. As a courtesy, it is nice for the secretary and the principal to know that you're not going to be there. You need to be thinking yourself as part of that school, part of the faculty. And if you want to be considered that way, you need to act like it. So a teacher would make sure people knew that they were out. So you need to make sure people know you're out. Oftentimes principals think, well, we don't have to worry about that teacher being out because we can put a sub in there with that student teacher. Or they do a lot of finagling in the mornings before they even get to school. And they've got in their mind who's going to be absent, who's going to be there. So you want to make sure you let the office know if you're not going to be at your school. If you have to miss, we had one person called me and he said, Miss Rock, I was working tonight and got held up, as in with a gun. He worked at a pharmacy. So he was going to the police station, and he called me to tell me that he would not be going to his placement the next day. That's a pretty good excuse. You don't have to have one quite that dramatically good. I had another person call me and say that they were having a baby. Another girl called one time from the emergency room telling me she was getting her gallbladder removed.
At least they call you.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. My point is that we want you there. You want to make an impression on these people that you're going to be dependable. When principals call me and when they call your supervisors to ask, is this person someone I want to hire? And they talk to us on the phone. The question that is always asked, always and never skips, is do they show up? Are they dependable? Because that's really what they care about the most. They need you. If you can't do your job if you're at home in bed. And so they need you there. And that's what you need to, we need to be able to tell them, yes, he always comes, and he's always on time, and he always stays as long as he's supposed to. So that's real important too. If you have to miss, make sure that you go through calling everybody needs to be notified. Keep track of the hours that you miss, and you make those up during exam week. Arrive early and stay late. Early is on time. On time is early. So if you're supposed to be there at 7:30, what time do you need to be there?
7:15.
7:15. 7:15. On time is late. So 7:30 and you pulling up in the parking lot at 7:30, that's not on time. So the professional world has got strict ideas about how you should act. And you may think, well, my mentor's not like that. Well, your mentor's probably been there for 5 or 10 years. They've got a reputation. They may be 40 or 50 years old. Nobody's keeping tabs on me anymore. But I tell you, they sure did it when I was your age. When I was a brand new teacher, I was watched like a hawk. And you will be too. People pay attention when you're new. So make sure you do what looks like they want you to do so that they may hire you, at least give you a good reference. You want to attend everything with your mentor, faculty meetings, IEP meetings if they'll let you, any kind of team planning, curriculum, everything. They've got hall duty, you've got hall duty. Lunch duty, you've got lunch duty. So you do it all just like they do. That way you get the full feeling. And you may be a little tired. When your teacher is teaching, you need to be up moving around the room and not sitting in the back of the room working on your EdTPA or on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, any of those things. Put your phone away and concentrate on the business at hand, which is doing your job. As your mentor becomes more comfortable with you teaching, they're going to have you teach more. And so you need to really be up moving around. Now, I don't know if you've ever had to supervise somebody, but I've had instructional assistants in my classroom. I've had graduate assistants. And there is nothing I value more than initiative. Someone who has already done it before I even knew I needed it done. Or it's something that we do every week, so why do I have to ask you to do it again? Because it's something we do every Monday, so why do I have to come in on Monday and say, will you do this? Initiative is very important. People notice when you've got it and they don't, and they especially notice when you don't. So you need to make sure that you're showing initiative. So be making yourself as useful as possible all day long and try to anticipate what kinds of things need to be done. Lesson plans. Your lesson plans are, we're going to, let's go ahead and pass this out. This is a good time. Will you all help me? That way I don't fall backward again. This has got two sides. It's a checklist on one side that shows you, and it's just for Residency 2. Every time I look at it, I say, well, that's not right. It's because in my brain I'm thinking about the whole year. But what you're looking at on this front side where it says Residency 2 checklist, it's for Residency 2. The back is for the whole year. So, when you get observed by your supervisors, you need to use the ETSU lesson plan template, and you need to do every single part of it. Yes, you need to do the writing, the rationale theory, all that. Know your learners. I know you don't need to do that for the EdTPA. So don't even try that with me. But that's not what we're talking about. This is a whole different expectation for a whole different assignment. So when you are turning in your lesson plan for your supervisor to look at, you need to turn it in 2 days early, 2 school days early, to your mentor, and it needs to be on the lesson plan format. You may be teaching every day, in which case there's going to be something like a daily plan. And you should follow your supervisor's advice on this, but personally, I would say that the daily plan that you write should be an abbreviated type of plan. It should contain objectives, it should contain your instructional steps, and it should contain assessment information. It can be your teacher's plans also that you're using if you're following her plans. But you do have to have something written for every time you teach. As far as how detailed it is or needs to be, that's an individual thing. You need to follow the guidance of your supervisor and your mentor. But you don't teach without a plan. You aren't that good yet. As good as you may be really good right now. But that just means that you're talented. It's like an artist who's talented but doesn't receive training. A vocalist, a musician. There's a difference between how well they can do with just their raw talent and how well they can do with learning the skills and practicing them. So you do need to have lesson plans written down. Even if your mentor doesn't do it, you do it. That's the expectation. Every time you teach. But just doesn't have to be necessarily the big, long 4 or 5 page thing. Observations, you're going to be formally evaluated by your ETSU supervisor 3 times. Your lesson plans might not be graded, but you're going to turn them in for your supervisor to give you feedback on those, and in that way they'll be evaluated. I personally think it's a good idea to avoid first period observations if possible, just simply because in the wintertime, people get on 2-hour delays and then the whole day's messed up. And personally, as an old person, I don't like to get out in really, really cold weather and try to drive to Bristol and leave at 6 or 6:30 in the morning, because I'm just plain old too old for that. And your supervisors are friskier than I am, but none of them are getting any younger. I don't know if you noticed. So I would avoid that. Mark, did you have a question, honey?
Yeah, so the 3 evaluations, does that need to be at your first placement? All 3 of them at your first placement?
I think that's explained here on this first page, the one that's the checklist. I think there's 2 at the first placement and 1 at the after March 18th, the third one, the third supervisor.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the checklist will tell you that. Yeah. Your mentor, you're going to be formally evaluated twice by your mentor. I think that's one in one place and one in the other with the quick check. Okay? And your summative evaluations, the EDA, whatever it is we're doing now, that we're not calling, I didn't change the language on that, I need to. That needs to happen, of course, in April. I think that there'll be some No, wait a minute. Yep. You'll do an evaluation of the program, all that sort of thing will be done at the end. Final supervisor visit, meeting, completion of the EDA, and I got this form from Dr. Hitt just last week, so it's pretty up to date. Okay. You want to obtain parental permission to do your EdTPA. And you can, those permission forms are found on the ETSU website. And if you go to the website and you put in, you go down here to colleges and schools, and then you go to Clemmer College of Education. Over here where it says teacher education, there's a drop-down box, residency. And there is your permission forms. Video permission form that's in English, and the video permission form that's in Spanish. That's the easiest way for you to find it right now because, you know, your D2L is going to close. So that's what I would do. There's tabs over here for mentors, supervisors, all kinds of great stuff under teacher education. Okay. Of course, if you're an undergrad, you'll be meeting with Dr. Hogan on Thursdays, 4:30 to 7:30. If you're a graduate student, you'll be meeting with me on Thursdays, 4:30 to 7:30. And attendance this class is mandatory. You undergrads will do exactly what Dr. Hogan says as far as videotaping is concerned. That is who you're answering to. And so if she tells you, you need to follow her about when she wants you to videotape. I tell people to plan on videotaping at the end of January and early February. Dr. Hogan's giving a thumbs up. I like to have people completed with their videotaping by Valentine's Day. What do you think about that, Dr. Hogan?
Yeah, if you plan for that, and then you get some snow days, you're in good shape and
That's
you're not having a nervous breakdown.
So if you are the kind of person, like an art person, who sees their students once a week, or a PE person, you need to keep that in mind, that you're going to have to spread it out, your 3 lessons. So you've got to start a 3-week period there. Music, PE, K-12 people is quite common. Attendance to class is mandatory. Roll's going to be taken, and it's part of your grade. It's a pain to come here. You'll be tired, and we're sorry about that. We're going to try to make it as pleasant for you as possible. But it's just something we have to get through. You don't want to try to do the EdTPA on your own. So remember, it's your opportunity to get some help on something that's really important.
I suppose that just drops off when we turn it in. I don't know if he's going to.
No.
No?
No, not exactly.
No.
All right, save the dates. This is what Dr. Hogan was talking about. We're probably, I don't know, did not get a chance to clear this date with Dr. Hogan. March, the reason we're doing Thursday, March the 14th, is that in the middle of your boot camp day, we're going to get visitors from Hamilton County who are trying to find teachers. It just so happens I know where some are. So they're coming here that day to recruit, and they're just going to be here for about 30 minutes during our, so I told them to come around lunchtime, and that they could talk to you then. But during EdTPA workday, boot camp day. We'll be here all day. You're excused from your placement. Dr. Hogan, does that day look okay with you?
Sure.
Okay.
Now that's spring break week, right?
Yeah, and we'll have the whole building to ourselves. And I have to double check with Tammy Baker, but she usually makes herself available. And that way you can go down and get help with her on working on your editing on your film. It's not film anymore, but you know what I mean, on your recording. And so we will have not spring break, but seminar break after the EdTPA is uploaded. We just don't know exactly what week that's going to be because there's some other pieces of the puzzle I've got to work out. You're going to upload on it's during March 21st through the 27th. I think undergrads are uploading on the 27th, and I think MAT is uploading on the 26th or the 25th. Or Monday?
It's a Monday, I don't know. It's the 25th.
25th then. So the upload, that's when that day you will have an assigned time to come to the lab and upload your FTPA. Dr. Hogan and I will talk to you more about that next semester when you need to know. But just know that that's also an excused day.
It doesn't take all day to do it, but we advise you to take all day off in case something goes wrong.
Sometimes it takes all day. I had this, so there's problems that can happen. And got a whole lot of people across the country who are uploading that day. So things can be really slow too. So it can take a while. I've been here till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And so fun. But it's what we do, and it'll be all right. So we're not going to worry about it, but just keep that in mind. We'll be uploading. All right, this is pass that out. So the question about scores on the EdTPA. What score do we want you to have? 45. 45, that's right. Because a 45 is proficient. That means that you have an average rubric score of 3. Now, that 45 means that you'll get a cord for graduation. In order to get a medal, to be an EdTPA scholar, and to get the EdTPA scholar, you need to get what? 55. 55.
I got my eye on that medal.
Yeah. Now, there's more benefits. And you all need to keep this in mind because I had somebody ask, do we have seminar after EdTPA? Well, some of you will, because there's just, let me finish. Good Lord. Where's y'all's classroom etiquette? There are 2 words here we can't confuse. One is remediate, and one is retake. And they don't mean the same thing. And we need to stop using them as if they do because it's confusing. Retake means you failed and you retake it and you have to resubmit it. That's a whole nother ball of wax. So we're not even going there because that means you scored under a 38. I haven't seen a score that low in a long time. So we're not even talking about that. But you do need to know that that is a possibility. That if you make under a 38, you will retake the EdTPA. And how we do that will have to be worked out on an individual basis because it will depend on how much the EdTPA you have to retake, which parts, will you have to videotape again, do you need another placement, incomplete, blah, blah, blah. We're not even going to go there unless we have to, right? Right. So, are we ready to X this out? Stop talking about it? No! Who has to retake? What poor souls have to retake? The ones that make under what?
38.
38, and that's the last time I ever want to hear that number. Because we're going to all make what? 45. 45 and up. Yeah, we're going to make a 45 and up. Now, if you make 45 and up, okay, let's start over again. Each, there are 15 rubrics, except for Crystal, who's got 13 rubrics. For each rubric, you have a score. What do you think you want to make?
3 or better.
At least 3 or better, right? If you make under a 3, you have to come back to seminar and rewrite the parts of the EdTPA that you made a 2 or 1 on. So the fewer 2s or 1 you get, the more likely you are to be out playing around the last couple of weeks in April. Okay? Jeffrey's sitting here thinking.
No, I'm ready for it. I'm already prepared.
I'm gonna block out those last 2 weeks of April. I've become Dr. Hogan's very best friend.
Yeah.
That's what we mean by remediate. Remediate does not mean that you have to send it to Pearson and pay $300 and have them rescore it. Remediate means that you come with your supervisor, your seminar leader, and she says, okay, you've got a problem with rubric 12 and 13 and rubric 5 and 6, and you need to rewrite these parts. And then you sit here and you rewrite these parts, and then when she says you're remediated, then you're remediated. Okay?
Attached to the taking the video one, if like that's a mess, do we just, is that like an automatic retake? Because we can't really like fix up what we recorded.
Yeah, but you can fix up what you wrote. Okay? And those are the types of things that we have to talk about on an individual basis. Okay? Yes?
Just a quick clarification. So does it remediate, or when you remediate the rubrics, does that change your actual STBA score? Okay, that's just for our.
That is for us as a university, as Clemmer College of Education, it's quality assurance. That we are putting quality teachers out there to work in the public schools. It is also a motivator. I'm not going to lie. I know you all don't want to come back and rewrite it. And so one way to get you motivated is for you to know that's what you're going to have to do if you undershoot. You need to overshoot. Okay? Okay. This policy is ETSU policy, and it's been approved by the people who do that sort of thing. Okay, yeah, the leadership team. Retake score is a state score. That's not negotiable. Just be lucky. In 2020, it goes up to 40. 2021, it goes up to 42. So, 38 sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Any questions? Yes.
I just have a general question, like where it says pass, like what is that? Like you passed, okay, what can you do with that? Like I'm not.
Get a license.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why are we, this is a question.
Let's all listen.
Are we going for the 45?
Of course.
I know that. I'm going for the 55, but
Okay, good.
everybody's going for the 45 at least to get the cord, but we can pass with a 38-30.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
In order to get licensed, you have to make a 38. If you don't make a 38, you won't get a license. And that was the whole point of doing Residency 2. So most of you, if you don't get a 38, you're going to want to retake. But then again, I'm not going to tell you how it's going to work out because it's too individualized. There's too many things to consider, and it has to be considered by the people who work with you. It would be me, it would be your seminar leader, it would be your supervisor, and our department chair and program coordinator. All those people are involved in deciding about what we do to fix it if you are in that category. We didn't have anybody last year, so I don't expect it to be anybody this year, okay? All right. Student teaching grade. Undergrads, You have one grade that's combined for seminar and student teaching. The seminar leader, Dr. Hogan, and your supervisor will work together to come up with a grade. But actually, I'm pretty sure it's still the supervisor who's officially in charge of your grade for Residency 2. Is that correct, as far as you all know? Okay. Yeah, that's not been changed. But how you do in seminar will affect that grade. They will speak with Dr. Hogan. If Dr. Hogan says, well, they never came to seminar, that's going to affect your grade. Under MAT students, you have 2 classes. You have one for student teaching, and that grade will be totally assigned by your supervisor. They are totally in charge of that. I'll set up the D2L and have all the stuff on there, but I'm not your instructor for that course. Seminar, I will be. And for MAT students, what I'll be looking at is, are you turning your stuff, are you adhering to our EdTPA timeline? Regular attendance to seminar. And your score can affect it positively. I don't let your score affect it negatively, but it can affect it positively. Okay? I've lost a slide, that's okay. Dr. Hogan and I like for you to have a seminar notebook. See.
I think we have to be as part of the job, right?
So this, I know, I'm pretty terrible at it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have a folder in my place.
So, there are some things that you need to have copies of that need to go in a 3-inch 3-ring binder. It's in place of the textbook. It's a lot of copying. This is my list for my MAT students. Dr. Hogan may have different ideas, but I will tell you that as far as what she wants, I mean, she may have different ideas about how it's organized, but as far as what she wants copied, I think this is pretty accurate. She'll correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Hogan.
It's about right, yeah.
So these are the files that you need to save onto your computer and have ready to print and be ready for seminar, because we at the first week of spring semester, when we come to seminar, it will not be a get to know you class session. It will be get to know your NTPA class session. We'll be working on it from the very beginning. So you need ready to hit the ground running.
Carol,
Yes.
I have not posted the new version of the handbook. There are no changes.
No changes. It's the template that we need to make sure is exactly the same. So your old versions from last year will be all right.
Yeah.
Okay. But the templates, and we can worry about that next semester.
I'm just.
Okay. Watch out for schedule changes due to the weather for your system. I don't think I have to tell you that, but remember, no cell phones, Facebook, any of that kind of stuff. Don't go to school whining about personal issues. No one wants to hear about you and your boyfriend or your girlfriend or any of that stuff. It's unprofessional to talk about it. So just leave it at home. Your dress code is important. I know I've told you all this before, and your supervisors probably tell you. I think it's important to dress appropriately. The worst thing you want to happen is for the only thing people to say about you is what you wear. Okay? We want them to talk about what you do, because what you wear doesn't catch their attention. So be the person who fits in and blends in, looks like the rest of the faculty, and dresses appropriately. And if your supervisor tells you that you're not dressed appropriately, you don't need to come to me about it, because I'm going to take their side, and you know that. I don't get very many questions like that. Your supervisors know what they're doing. So, You are a member of that faculty. Once you're there full time, they're going to start thinking of you like that. There are going to be people that really didn't even see you much this past semester, but now you're going to be there all day, every day. They're going to start seeing you. They may even think you might be a new teacher, a substitute or something. Yes?
So at some placements, we have to like sign in the office or stuff like that. Are we still going to have to do that even though we'll be there all day, every day like faculty?
You need to check with what your school wants you to do. Now, I think like for instance at Science Hill, they do. I don't know about UH.
Just walk in.
It doesn't seem.
Yeah.
I've been looking at Facebook, and I would suggest strongly that you just make it private. Just make it private entirely, and of course, don't send the students. But even if the pictures are innocuous about you and your dog and your spouse or children, they don't need to know that.
They don't.
Just make it private entirely, 100%.
Now, I have learned that even though I am 59, I know more about social media than some people who are much younger than I am. You all should know, hopefully, that there is a drop-down thing where you can change your posts from public, which is the circle, the little globe, right, to friends. You don't need to friend people that you work with.
No.
And until you're hired, okay? And even then, I'd be very cautious. You never want to friend a parent or a student. And because they can take the slightest little thing and turn it into something it's not. If you are already done that, then there are ways to block that person from being able to see what you post. And you need to do that. They don't know that you did it. Now, I post all kinds of things about political stuff, then there's people out there who have no idea I'm posting political stuff every single day. And there's other people that think that's all I post. Because I've got groups that see it and groups that don't. And so that's the kind of thing you have to start thinking. You sort of live in a fishbowl. Do y'all remember the story I told you about the fishbowl beer? Being in Bristol, in that little town, and going out to eat with some friends, and I ordered a beer, and they bring me this humongous thing full of beer, and there was no way I was going to sit there and McAdoo's and drink that big old beer, because we're just 2 seconds away from somebody I teach walking in, and it just doesn't reflect well. It's not against the law for an adult to drink. It's none of it is. It just doesn't reflect well when you live like you do in very conservative communities. So just be cautious. I told the waitress she had to take it back and bring me a small beer. And she says, it costs the same amount of money. I said, I don't care. I want the little one. I'm not going to have this big thing sitting in front of me. So you just have to be mindful of that sort of thing. Every year, you wouldn't believe the number of people that I taught with who ended up getting dismissed from their jobs or having to quit their jobs because they stupidly started texting with students. And I chalk it up to arrogance. I think sometimes people think that it couldn't happen to them. Well, that sounds like arrogance to me. It's either arrogance or it's ignorance or it's naivety, and none of it's very good. So, yeah, it can happen to you. And so you can control what you write on your phone. You can't control what a kid writes on their phone. You can't control the picture that they take and send to you. And then you can erase the picture and say, oh my God. In the meantime, the parent picks it up and sees the phone in their child's room. They say, well, who did they send that picture to?
There's also this thing on iPhones called Airdrop. And while it can be helpful if you turn it on for everyone in case people are airdropping like your test answers so that everybody gets the test answer, if somebody airdrops an inappropriate picture, that's also on your phone. Oh, you're taking a risk. Do you want it on so you can see if they're cheating, or do you not want it on so that you don't have a picture on your phone?
Who knew? Not me.
That's all.
I didn't, this Airdrop is a new one for me. Okay, yes. Let's listen, please.
The first placement does not require the mentor forms again, or the W-9 and all that, like they've done in the past.
It's up there at the top of the checklist.
Not for placement.
Yeah,
They don't have to.
for placement 1.
Just the second one after the orientation.
Well, placement 1 did it the first semester.
I know, but in the past we had.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's, you're right, I'm sorry. Yeah, I wondered about that too, and we can ask Dr. Hitt about that on Monday.
Okay.
But I'm thinking that the whole notion of doing that double like we used to, somebody thought, why are we doing this?
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I think it was one of those things where we'd always done it that way, and so we continued, no one really knew the reason. Okay. So be really, really careful, folks. Don't get cocky and think it can't happen to you, because it can, because I've seen it. This is not stories I've read about. These are people I worked with who were across the hall from me. One of them ended up in a federal penitentiary in Florida. Okay? A woman. Yeah. A woman who didn't look a lot different than me. She's heavy. She was like 45. And she did a stupid, did a big stupid. And she, in order to keep things from getting worse, she pled guilty. Or maybe she was guilty. I don't know. I just know we were all shocked. And then another guy I worked with, he ended up having to quit. And then another one that I worked with. All at the middle school, Crystal.
Yeah,
you know, you were there. In Bristol, Virginia. So, I mean, you know, don't think it can't happen to you.
I've had 2 graduates.
So, no, don't, you just can't do it. You just cannot do it. Okay. I just feel, I know I've talked about this kind of thing with you all before. I just feel like it's important enough to talk about it again. Classroom management, you all, you know, this is not something I'm going to talk about a great deal, but I am going to say this to you. When you have a serious classroom management problem, a behavior management problem, you need to get help. Don't let yourself get frustrated or get sucked into a power struggle with a student. You need to step away and pull in someone to help you. You're not expected to be super teacher. You are a novice. Take advantage of that and get help. And if you're really struggling, you need to be honest with your supervisor about that, so that your supervisor can come in and help you figure out some things that you can do to make your life easier and not so hard, because that will drive you out of the teaching profession, not having good classroom management. Okay? So, all you have left to do is to enjoy the process. Next semester,
What process?
listen, there's parts of next semester, I'm not done yet, please don't pat. Parts of next semester are going to be wonderful. You're going to be there all day, you're going to feel like a part of the school, you're going to get excited. You're going to have some really great days, so like the day you submit your EdTPA and it's over, and the day you get your score on April the 18th and you see that you did well, and the day that you graduate. There's a lot to look forward to. I get usually a lot of questions about licensure. You will get an email from our certification analyst or her person that works with her in the spring, around April, that will give you directions about what to do. But you can apply for jobs that start in the fall when they start advertising them. So if they start advertising for a history teacher that's going to start in the fall, You can apply for that even though you don't have your license. And then you'll just say that your license is pending. School systems know how it works. They know that you're in student teaching and you're going to graduate. It'll take you about 6 to 8 weeks after doing your application to actually get the license. But in the meantime, you can, if your license is pending and you're eligible for a license, and all those things mean you're employable. Okay.
Now you're saying we're getting that email in April. We can't send it off until May, right? Or
That you have to have all your ducks in a row before you can apply. So you gotta have a graduation, your SCPA scores, all those things done. There has to be after graduation, yeah. Yes.
Will there be another career fair like there was last year? Like,
Yes.
towards after we get our SCPA scores?
I don't know the date of the career fair, but yes.
Is it usually after we have that information and we can?
It's usually in April, like the third week.
Is it just like Tri-City schools? That's like.
We get them from Knoxville, from Chattanooga, from everywhere. Knoxville hires a ton of teachers. They really do. And they have a ton of openings every year. Knox County. Any other questions? Yes.
This is pertaining to the filming, but if we're planning on filming early, what do we need to do for the camera situation? I know you said we need to start contacting.
So, Tammy Baker, if she has not already, is planning to send out an email to tell you about the checkout procedures for cameras. But you cannot check out a camera until after you come back from Christmas vacation. And you need to have gone through that Task 2 training. And if you did it online, and if you complete the grid, that's part of the training, and show it to me or Dr. Hogan, then we would might okay you filming early. But other than that, nah. Because if you don't know what needs to be filmed, you're just wasting everybody's time. We'll have people up there lecturing for 45 minutes, and that's not going to do you a bit of good.
If you're an undergraduate and planning to teach before the semester starts, send me an email. Tell me that. Tell me about when, and we'll do some discussion.
But the cameras have to be reserved through Tammy Baker. She's going to send you an email about it. And I've talked about this till I'm blue in the face and told people they can't have cameras over Christmas. And I don't really think it's necessarily you all, but there are people who've been going down to the second floor and just literally, what they're saying, demanding that they get cameras now. And it better not be us, because and if it is us, okay, don't do it again, because no, that is not what we've said. So, anyway, any other questions? Some of the supervisors are here. Did you all, Ms. Dillinger, did you want to talk with your folks?
I'd like to, just a few minutes.
Okay. Ms. Willis?
What did you say?
Would you all like to speak with your folks?
I only have one here, but I'll go.
Okay. So, if your supervisor's not here, or if they've got everything cleared away with you, you're welcome to go. Thank you so much for coming.
Halfway there.
He said he wanted my.
Well, the neighbor begin to cry.